Having a well-stocked pantry and freezer is one of the keys to setting yourself up for success with cooking and with meal planning too. It's like having your own personal store in your house, and it's full of all of the ingredients that you use for the recipes that you make. This area of our kitchen is the pantry, and it holds all of our dry food, all of our canned goods, and it might look kind of small, which I guess it kind of is, but it's very compact and it holds a lot of food. We'll start over here. This is where the bulk of the food that I use on a regular basis is. I really love the way that this functions. So my style is all about functionality and practicality, and it works really well. I love that the drawers pull out. I can easily reach everything in the back, and it's great. This pantry actually holds quite a bit of food, and I even have a little bit of space left over, so I think that's pretty awesome. Compared to my first apartment kitchens when we first got married, I didn't have hardly any storage space there, and I had to keep my food in the laundry room and just random places around the house. So I think this is awesome. It's quite an upgrade, and I just really enjoy it. Right here is where I have all of my baked goods. So all-purpose flour and granulated sugar. Since I bake a lot, I have these really giant containers, and they hold quite a bit of flour and sugar. And then back there, I have raw sugar, and then more powdered sugar, brown sugar. I have cake flour and bread flour back there. And then in the back, I have extra oil, and this is the oil that I use the most. So this is olive oil, and this is avocado oil. And then I have this like spray bottle of oil. So that's what I have right here. This shelf holds the rest of my baking supplies, but these are all of the little things, all of the little bottles and cans and whatever. So this is like vanilla, baking powder, baking soda, molasses, chocolate chips, raisins, coconut oil, poppy seeds. I found that it was very useful to put them into different sections and put them inside of these plastic containers, because otherwise everything was like flying around and shifting when I would be pulling out the drawer. So this contains it, and actually it keeps it really clean. I hardly ever have to clean things up, and it stays very organized this way. So over here, I have my baking spices. I have the rest of my spices in a cupboard over there closer to the island where I cook more. But over here, I just have the baking spices. So I have cardamom, cinnamon, nutmeg, cinnamon sticks. Then I also have coconut oil here, poppy seeds. And back there, I have other things that I don't use very often, like mint extract and whatever. And then back there, it just fit the coconut flakes. That's where it fits, so that's where it is. And then I have barley malt here, and then I put my cornstarch and my cocoa powder in these bigger containers because I bake with those more, so I wanted to have a bigger supply. And then I also have some gelatin back here, extra cocoa powder. I also have my parchment baking cups. These are my favorites. I use them to make muffins and cupcakes and things like that. So almost everything I need for baking is all right here, and it's in one area. So that's kind of how I organize everywhere in my kitchen. I try to put like items together so they're all in the same space and I know where to look for them, and it just works that way in my head. This drawer is easy for my kids to get to, so this is where we have all of our snacks. This holds our bread, so I have some black bread and white bread, and then if I have like bagels or something, they go in there too. Then back here I have some golden raisins, some dried cranberries, honey, crackers. These are really good with like a charcuterie board. Yum. And then over here, more snacks. So I have some tortilla chips, dry apples. These we just found at Costco last time. We've been trying them out. They kind of taste like graham crackers. And some dry mangoes. We love mangoes in our family, both dry and fresh and frozen. So we love having these as well. And then back here, I also have electrolytes. And then we also have extra jam. I told you my kids like extra jam when I was doing the refrigerator tour. We've got lots of jam. And then some peanut butter. This is the drawer that gets changed all the time because it really depends on what we're eating this week, so it looks different all the time. Everything else kind of stays the same. All of my canned goods are right here. On this side, I have the majority of our vegetables and other savory things. And on this side is more sweet things. I have tomato products right here. We use lots of tomato products. Corn, peas, beans, chickpeas, tuna fish, salmon. And then on this side, I have more sweet things. So coconut milk, which I guess that could be both savory and sweet. And then some canned fruit. My kids really like it, and I usually prefer to give them fresh fruit, of course, but in a pinch, this is nice when we're out of fresh fruit. And then I like to add it to like jellos or baking. Also, I have lots of sweetened condensed milk, dulce de leche, and what else? Pumpkin puree. That's it. So this bottom drawer has our potatoes, onions, garlic, shallots, and red onion. So I don't always have red onion or shallots, kind of depends, but this is where I have all of that. In the back, I just have extra cans. Sometimes I'll have like jars of pickles there or whatever. This is kind of like my extra spot. I know a lot of people say you're not supposed to keep your potatoes and onions together, but we go through them so quickly, I've never had a problem with that. I've been storing my potatoes and onions close together like this my entire married life, and I've never had a problem with it. My potatoes don't sprout or my onions either. It's not a problem, and it works for us. So a lot of my baking supplies were right here, and these are my cooking supplies. So I have like breadcrumbs, couscous, barley, orzo, popcorn, buckwheat, dry mushrooms. What else do I have in here? Beans, things like that. So it's really easy to reach all of them. Like I said, I love these drawers. This is really great, a great way to store things. And these containers keep the food nice and fresh. So it looks nice, but it's more about the function for me. So if you don't use some kind of container to contain your food, if you're just gonna store it in the packaging from the store, it's gonna go stale more quickly and you're gonna get bugs in there. It's not a nice thing to talk about when you're talking about food, but that's the reality. The only way you're gonna have bugs in your food is if you brought it home from the store. But in that case, it's gonna be contained to the one container. It's not gonna spread to the rest of your supplies, which is awesome. And like I said, it really keeps things fresh a lot longer. So when I put them in these containers, the food stays fresh for a long time. This drawer right here and the one on the very bottom is just like extra supplies or things that I don't use very often. I'll have them right there. So I have like extra tomato sauce. By the way, this is my favorite tomato sauce for a store-bought version. And then I have like sun-dried tomatoes and hot chili salsa. I showed this in the refrigerator tour. So I have actually a whole bunch of them here. I think I have like 4. We don't go to Trader Joe's all that often, so I like to buy extras so I have it on hand. And then what else do I have? I have like Worcestershire sauce, more dry mushrooms, just like random things, soy sauce, more jam. Then I have this giant container of dry mushrooms. I have more dry mushrooms on this shelf, and this is much more easier to reach and to get it. This giant container is not really convenient to take it out, and it takes up a lot of space. So I just keep it in the back, and then when I need more mushrooms, I'll add it in. So just lots of little extras. Chili garlic sauce. So you kind of get the picture, right? Oh, extra dry cranberries. So when we run out of cranberries where it's much easier to use, I'll refill it from there. So my stock of extras and things I don't cook very often with. This drawer right here holds all of my oils and vinegars. So I have a giant container of apple cider vinegar in the back. I have a really big container of avocado oil from Costco. Then I also have some red wine vinegar, balsamic vinegar, sherry vinegar. I love using all kinds of different vinegars because it changes the flavor of things. It's great to have all of these vinegars on hand for making salad dressings and marinades. So I really like having a variety to choose from. And then of course, just plain vinegar for cleaning, and then sometimes I do use it for cooking too. This is an extra bottle of olive oil. I cook with olive oil a lot, so I like to have extras of that. This bottom shelf also holds our extra supplies, like I mentioned. So I have extra tomato sauce, more buckwheat, extra pickles, grape juice, more oil. I also have pickling and canning salt, which I don't use all that often, but when I need it, it's there. It's tucked away. It doesn't take up much space. I also have some pink Himalayan salt. It's a giant container. I have a much smaller container of the pink salt in my spice cabinet, and then this giant one is here. Now that I'm nice and high, standing on top of my kid's chair here, I'm gonna show you what I have at the top of the pantry. So here we have cereals. I have found that we do not need more than 3 cereals before they go stale. My kids only eat them for like a snack or something. So 3 cereals is more than enough. So I have the cereals here. Behind there, I have extra cereal. And then over here, we have oatmeal and then cream of wheat. And what else is here? And in the back, I have extra oatmeal and I have this multigrain cereal that I'm going to use for making bread. I also have extra graham crackers. So back there is just like extras that we have in the pantry. Whatever I need to fit, I can find space over there usually. At the very top are things that I don't reach for very often. So it's sprinkles, ice cream cups. Right here, I have a whole container that has all of my Play-Doh supplies. So I have like cheap flour and salt, cream of tartar, food coloring. All of those things are there. So if we need to make Play-Doh, I can just take it down and make it, and I have everything in one place. And then I also have other cake decorating supplies, cookie cutters. We don't use those all that often, so I have them all the way at the top here. Lastly, on this shelf, I have some gnocchi, put that into soup, some extra pasta, and angel hair. Because these shelves are so deep, I actually put the pasta here because I have extra space and it's easier to reach because it's in the front here. If I put it in the back, it's kind of a pain in the you-know-where to reach over and get the angel hair. So I just moved it over here because we use that a lot. I also have all of our alcoholic products here for cooking and baking. So I have limoncello and rum and cognac. So this is limoncello. I love limoncello cake. It's so delicious. It has a wonderful flavor. So it's really good. And then also for baking, cognac. Actually, this is really good if you put in like a barbecue sauce also. Cognac, rum, things like that are really good. But also for cakes, you can add a little bit into frosting like vanilla extract. You can use cognac and it gives it a really lovely flavor. So rum, same thing. It's really good in baking. You can also add rum to some kind of a sauce, like a barbecue sauce, gives it a really great flavor. So this is a good option to have on hand too. And then I'm not going to take it out, but I have an orange liqueur back there and a coffee liqueur, also for cakes. For the most part, when I'm cooking with wine, I use dry wine. So this is the one I like to use for, not this particular brand or anything, but just the kind of wine. Chianti is really good for cooking. And then I also like a Pinot Noir and a Burgundy wine. So those are good options for cooking. And then for white wine, this one is my favorite, Sauvignon Blanc. Also, not the brand, just the type of wine, Sauvignon Blanc. So that's really good for sauces. I really like this kind of wine. I don't have it right now, but another wine I like to use is Marsala, you know, chicken Marsala. That's amazing. I usually just buy that one when I'm cooking with it because I don't really use it for anything else. And at the very top of this shelf, I also have more extra supplies. So I have extra flour, extra rice, powdered sugar, and that's it. I even have some extra storage containers. This area is where I spend the majority of my time cooking. So it's very convenient to have my spices right here. Another reason I chose to put my spices in this cabinet is because it's away from the stove. And if you can, it's best to store your spices further away from the heat. So it's a really good spot, very convenient. The bottom shelf has all of my spice jars. It's very easy for me to reach. I have them all stacked on this tiered rack. And that way I can easily reach all of them. I think I have a pretty good collection over here. I like to have a lot of single components that I can mix together to create different spice blends as well. So I do have a few spice blends that I really like. Like one of my favorites is onion salt from Trader Joe's. I'll show you the container later on. This is one of my favorites. I use it for so many different things. And then there's a few other mixes that I like. I mostly have seasoning blends from Trader Joe's. I really like them. I'll show you close-ups of the ones that I like in the B-roll so you can take a closer look. Everything else, for the most part, is just one ingredient, and that way I have so many options of creating lots of different varieties of spice blends. For example, I never buy taco seasoning because I can easily make taco seasoning with the spices that I have. And then I can use those individual spices for lots of different things too. Paprika, ground coriander, cumin, lots of things like that you can add to many different recipes and then create lots of different blends too. Another thing about making your own spice blends is that you can add more or less of any ingredient to make it exactly how you like it. This shelf has all of my salt, pepper, and like bulk spices. My salt container that I use all the time, you probably saw it in all of my videos. And then I have my pepper mill. I also have the grinder for the pink Himalayan salt. Then all of my salts are in this corner right here. I have fancy sea salt. I use this for just like sprinkling on something special or on top of brownies or something like that. And then this is kosher salt. This is my sea salt. That's what I use for the majority of my cooking because when I'm blogging and testing recipes, I want it to be kind of universal and things that people use the majority of the time. So I prefer to use sea salt for all of that. And then the pink salt, if I use the pink salt, it's completely different measurements. It's not as salty as sea salt, so you have to add more. So anyway, I never use pink salt when I'm doing recipes for the website, but I use it when I'm cooking just for our family. And then over here I have bay leaves, which I use a lot for soups and stews and things like that. And back here I have pickling spice. When I'm pickling things, I need a lot of it, and those tiny little spice jars, I'll go through those in no time. So this is much more economical, and I like to have it on hand. And this is my jar of black peppercorns. So I use pepper a ton also, so I always have a big giant supply of salt and pepper. The way I placed everything is very strategic so that I'm able to reach everything very easily, and I don't have to reach over things and knock them over when I'm reaching for something else. And the only thing that's kind of tucked away in the corner is the pickling spice, which I don't use all that often, so that's a good spot for it. This shelf right here holds all of my extra spices and seasonings and just things that I don't use all that often or just extra supplies. So I usually buy onion powder and garlic powder in bigger containers, and then I'll refill my spice jars below. So I have bigger containers of that. I think I have onion powder in there too. If not, I need to buy some. And then just like random spices that I don't use very often, like curry powder, and then I have more extra black peppercorns and, like I said, just extras. And at the very top, I have more extra salt and spices that I buy in bulk, like paprika, pickling spice, and I also have even more dry mushrooms up there too. Having a large pantry supply is awesome. You can create so many meals when you have a fully stocked pantry, and it feels awesome too to know that you have so many different options at your fingertips. It's also really important to figure out how much you're actually going to use, because if you stock up your pantry and you have so much food and then you don't end up eating it before it expires, then you're gonna have to throw it away, and it's a waste of money and it's a waste of your space in the kitchen. I hope this inspires you to get in your pantry, get it cleaned out and organized. I'm telling you, it feels so good to get it cleaned up and go back, and whenever I do a pantry clean out or I clean out my fridge, I go back and admire it time after time because it feels so good. It's also the perfect time to use those ingredients that you found in there that you didn't even remember you had, and use them in some way in next week's menu. This is another area where I gotta make sure it's clean. Magic erasers are awesome. You know, when you're about to give a tour of your pantry is when you notice all the scuff marks and fingerprints. Okay, it's looking good now. It is what it is. It is what it is, what it is, what it is.